Alright, what's up, folks? Rich Van Tassel continuing on with our game picks for now week 16 of the NFL season. These are, of course, the Sunday games. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4-10, 1-6 on the road. Travel to Carolina to play the Panthers, who are 10-4, 5-2 at home. Injuries for the visiting Buccaneers. Robert Ayers, a defensive end, is out. Ryan Smith, a cornerback, doubtful. Levante David, linebacker. Joe McCoy, defensive end. Ryan Russell, defensive end, are questionable. For the Carolina Panthers, Russell Shepard, wide receiver. Mario Addison, defensive end. Tyler Larson, center. Shaq Thompson, linebacker, are questionable. Trey Turner, a guard, is out. A lot of playoff implications for this game. Carolina certainly in the thick of both the wild card and the NFC South race. Tampa Bay could help out a team like Dallas, Detroit, Seattle, all those teams with a victory. Carolina, as we've said all season, are they going to stick to that offensive philosophy that they wanted to come into the season with? They have not. They've relied heavily on Cam Newton, both throwing and running. He hasn't thrown for 3,000 yards yet. He will go over that, most likely, almost certainly in this game. Jonathan Stewart has started to pick up his running. He's still well below 4 yards per carry, however. They're going to need him to have one of the big games in this one. Tampa Bay, we saw on Monday night, they are very injured in the defensive side of the ball. So certainly a healthy running game by Carolina could really soften this team up. It would really come down to Tampa Bay. Can Jameis Winston make enough plays, get the ball downfield to Mike Evans? It's going to be a test for that young secondary we've talked about all season long for the Carolina Panthers in the two corners. Second year, James Bradbury and Darryl Worley. I think Tampa Bay could probably win one of these two games. I'm not going to pick them to do it, but do you expect them to just continue to lose the way they have? I don't know. I think it's going to be a difficult game, but Carolina at home gets the victory 27-20. The Denver Broncos 5-9, 1-6 on the road, travel to Washington to play the Redskins, who are 6-8, 4-3 at home. Injuries for the visiting Broncos. Shane Ray, a linebacker, is an injury reserve out. Cody Lattimore, wide receiver, Paxton Lynch, quarterback, Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver, are questionable. For the Washington Redskins, Trent Williams, an offensive tackle, is an injury reserve out. Kendall Fuller, cornerback, Maurice Harris, wide receiver, Terrell McClain, defensive tackle, and Samaje Perine, running back, are questionable. Nothing on the line for either of these two teams. Washington, I would assume, would like to finish 500. That's been a talking point of them these last couple weeks. They'd have to win out to do so. Denver, it's been a disappointing season for them. Trevor Siemian, their top quarterback, I'd expect him to play. 12 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. They haven't found any consistency from the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins has played pretty well. You can't really put it on him. Washington's had a lot of injuries. It started with Josh Norman in the secondary, offensive line injuries. They've worked hard this year. I don't think they're that poor of a team, and I expect them to be able to handle the Denver Broncos in this one and see if the Broncos secondary can do things against that Washington offense and limit the wide receivers and limit Kirk Cousins. But in the end, Washington is too strong and Denver has been way too inconsistent with their quarterback play to get the victory in this one. I'm taking the Washington Redskins 28-17 as Denver struggles to find the end zone. Another big NFC South game, the Atlanta Falcons 9-5, 5-2 on the road, travel to New Orleans to play the Saints, who are 10-4, 6-1 at home. Injuries first for the visiting Falcons. Andy Levitre, guard, is questionable. For the New Orleans Saints, A.J. Klein, linebacker, Kenny Vaccaro, safety, are injury reserve outs. The rest are all out, not on injury reserve, however. Michael Hamanawananue, tight end, Garrett Griffin, tight end, Trey Hendrickson, defensive end. You're starting to see the injuries really pile on for the New Orleans Saints. Kenny Vaccaro, a young up-and-coming safety. Of course, their top overall pick, Marshawn Lattimore, has struggled with injuries at times. He's not listed in this one. You also have A.J. Klein out of the game, so some defensive injuries in this one. Atlanta can still win the division if they win out. They'd also need a little bit of help from the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers would have to lose some games as well, but they control their own destiny because they play the Carolina Panthers the last week of the season. So, a lot on the line. Of course, is a big game for the other teams that we mentioned before when we were discussing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Carolina Panthers, teams like the Cowboys, the Seattle Seahawks, the Detroit Lions. New Orleans, is their defense going to be enough in this game? They've really improved, but they've started to have the injuries. They are at home. Atlanta, Matt Ryan has been getting the job done for the most part. He's missed some passes. That offense still hasn't been crisp, though. He's thrown some interceptions. You saw in the Monday night game that he wasn't all that crisp. Drew Brees, 21 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Look for him to try to take advantage of that Atlanta secondary. And, of course, you're going to see a lot of running in this game by both teams. Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman for the Atlanta Falcons have really gotten the job done, and you have Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints. Two backs for both teams. Let's see which one prospers in this game. I expect it's going to be the New Orleans Saints. I worry a little bit about their defense, but I think they make enough plays. I don't think Atlanta's going to be crisp enough, and that'll really benefit an injured New Orleans defense. And Drew Brees makes the plays as New Orleans comes away with the 31-27 victory. The Los Angeles Chargers, 7-7, 3-4 on the road, traveled to New York to play the Jets, who are 5-9, 4-3 at home. Injuries for the visiting Chargers. Hunter Henry, a tight end, is an injury reserve out. Corey Liuget and Denzel Perryman, a defensive tackle and linebacker respectively, are also out. Joe Barksdale, offensive tackle. Austin Eckler, running back, questionable. For the New York Jets, Brian Winters, guard, is out. The rest are questionable. Matt Forte, running back. Elijah McGuire, running back. Wesley Johnson, center. Los Angeles has to have this game. They could still win the division. They would have to win both games, and the Kansas City Chiefs would have to lose both games. But it is certainly possible. They still are in the thick of that wild card game. One back of the three teams that currently are 8-6. Two of those spots are available. Of course, you have the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, and the Tennessee Titans. I'm not sure if Los Angeles can be eliminated even if they win. Let's say all those three teams that we just mentioned win, they would get to 9. The best the Chargers can finish with is 9. So I'm not sure if there would be any elimination even with a win. They would certainly be in desperate straits if they lose. I'm not even sure if a loss would necessarily eliminate them because the other teams could finish at 8-8 as well, but certainly Los Angeles is not thinking about what happens if they lose. They're traveling cross country. Look, you got to give the Jets some credit. A lot of talk here, and I live in the New York area, about Todd Bowles. Should they bring him back? I think Todd Bowles is a very good coach, and he's shown that this year with what he's gotten out of the team. And he's now lost his quarterback. You're turning to either Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg. Neither one of those guys can really get the job done. It's going to be a test for that young Jets defense, the safeties especially led by Jamal Adams, the rookie, that they're trying to build around. Let's see if they can get some pressure with guys like Leonard Williams and force Phillip Rivers into some bad plays. He had a lot of turnovers last week. They have a little bit of extended rest because they played on Saturday, so let's keep an eye on that. I think the Chargers look to get that bad taste out of their mouth. They're much more crisp on offense in this game, and they take advantage of the Jets and come away with a victory that's needed. I think the Jets will be game, but I think a score of 23-20 in favor of the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, we'll be back in just a little bit to finish up with the game picks for now Week 16 of the NFL season. Thank you.